Jackie Chan Adventures was a lot more interesting than I remember. Airing for 5 seasons starting in September of 2000, it follows the life of a fictional Jackie Chan who's an archaeologist by day and a secret agent by day and night and stuff. Celebrity cartoons have a very weird history because they often come off as weird cash grabs. Like, for every Fat Albert, there's 2 Little Ellens. And why was there a cartoon about the Rubik's Cube? What is that even gonna be about? I have to see this for myself. But my skepticism was washed away instantly when the Jackie Chan theme song played and we see this animated version of Jackie punch this huge dude, only for him to flash back to real Jackie and shake out his hand in pain. It told me right away this show's gonna have a lot of combat and humor, and above all, it's with a celebrity who's not afraid to laugh at himself. Jackie Chan's often associated with extreme stunts, intense combat, and slapstick comedy, so I think he was a perfect fit for this cartoon, as we'll see, and they even ask him questions at the end of every episode, so let's just get right into the first episode. In the first episode, we learn Jackie Chan's an archaeologist, exploring a tomb with his team. He finds this ancient Bavarian shield that causes the temple to trap him inside, Indiana Jones style, but Jackie dodges the arrows shooting from the wall, using the shield as a shield. Riding out of the temple on the shield like a sled, which we soon learn is an ancient artifact, and multiple men are spying on the situation, telling their teams to follow Jackie. After making headlines from his excavation, we see Jackie lives in San Francisco, working in an antique shop with his uncle who's pretty stingy.
Come, give Uncle a hug. Oh! You did not make coffee this morning.
And yes, his name is actually just Uncle. Uncle Chan. Do you think he was born with that name? On top of living with his uncle, Jackie now lives with his niece, Jade, who was sent to live with Jackie from Hong Kong because she was causing too much trouble back home. No one asked Jackie about this because they didn't want to bother him, which I think is a really considered decision to just dump a child onto someone and not say anything, like no need to bother them any further, right? This group of sketchy guys comes into the antique shop asking about buying the shield, but Jackie just gets a bad vibe from them and says he's already donated the shield, which is pretty interesting because Uncle's researching the shield, so I don't know if the shield wasn't for sale and he didn't want the bad guys to stick around, so he just says it's not here, or if Jackie would sell it, just not to these sketchy guys. It kinda goes to show the character of Jackie Chan in the show, as he really respects his craft as an archaeologist and wouldn't want artifacts and antiques to fall into the wrong hands. Well, besides randomly selling some of them, but you know, go make your money, Jackie Chan. My only question with Jackie being an archaeologist is how he's just so good at martial arts, cause when Jackie tells the bad guys no, they knock over a bunch of fragile vases in the store and Jackie saves them all like a boss. Like, he doesn't even get mad at them, he just calmly sits there. Speaking of the villains, I like their designs a lot, even though they're not terribly distinct personality-wise. I love the sunglasses that kind of look like chameleon eyes on this guy, and this red-haired guy is just a classic villain design. White suit, sharp edges. Every character has a unique face shape and complexion in this show, and I really love it. Like, we even got this green guy, and it might sound a little weird to refer to them by their description instead of their names, but of these 3, I only knew one of their names after watching the season, and it's only said at the end of the season, so I don't want to spoil it yet. Jackie leaves the shop and follows the bad guys to see what they're up to, and ends up falling off a pipe to the building onto their car, and they floor it into a fence and try to beat up Jackie. The fight sequences in this show are really impressive. Like, the choreography of this scene alone is such a great example, with Jackie rolling over the hood, diving into the sunroof of the car, and jumping back out of it while launching the doors open. Like, how does he even do this? In a show full of magical talismans that grant super strength and invisibility, this is by far the most unrealistic part of the whole show. Jackie beats them all up on this playground, tying them up on the swings, and Jackie loves this. He wants more, but they wisely retreat. Jackie's niece, Jade, has been watching this whole time, but doesn't say a word, so Jackie assumes she doesn't speak English this whole time, but before Jackie can explain the situation to her, he gets put to sleep by the other man that was spying on the situation in Bavaria at the beginning of the episode. It turns out this isn't a villain, but Jackie's old friend, Augustus Black, and Jackie's upset that his friend knocked him out and did all this, but he soon explains to Jackie he runs an organization called Section 13, an undercover law enforcement agency who deals with international crimes. We learn most of their conflicts come from this syndicate called the Dark Hand, who have connections to almost every criminal activity and is run by this man in this green suit called Valmont. We then cut to the Dark Hand organization, where we see their leader Valmont reports to this possessed dragon statue named Shendu. They're in disbelief a random archaeologist just was able to defeat them all, so Valmont brings in this big dude named Toru, who's one of the best characters in the show. I kinda wish the other villains had more of a distinct fighting style, but Toru's at least a threat cause he's so damn big, Jackie punches him sometimes and it just bounces off of him. So on top of this reinforcement, Shendu brings in his Shadow Ninjas, also referred to as the Shadow Khan, which I guess is just his own personal army that still serves him. Back in Section 13, Agent Black asks Jackie to join their team as an archaeology expert, which Jackie says he'll consider, but before he comes to an answer, Jade breaks in on a motorcycle. And this may be the only time a motorcycle has ever turned around without doing the Akira bike slide. Even though it kinda does the motion, I guess. So Jade drags Jackie behind the motorcycle on a rolling chair, and it's insane, like Jackie's riding on the wall here. Jackie explains these are his friends and he doesn't need to be broken out, and Jade chalks this up to be a cool American thing where friends just knock each other out and bring them to underground bases. Every episode has Jackie giving sage advice to Jade, and in this episode he tells her that she wasn't being brave because courage without wisdom is just foolishness. These moral lessons might seem like they're shoehorned in because this is a cartoon, but I like to think of these lessons as more of an homage to wuxia storytelling, a genre of fiction revolving around ancient Chinese martial arts and translates to martial arts and chivalry. Wuxia storytelling has its roots in stories over 2,000 years old, but experienced a revival in the 20th century with the golden age of the genre widely being considered the 1960s to 80s in Hong Kong, which happens to be where Jackie Chan grew up. One of Jackie's first roles was a small appearance in the movie Come Drink With Me, widely considered one of the greatest wuxia films of all time. So I like to think the morals Jackie teaches in the show might be a slight homage to his background in the Hong Kong film industry, because martial arts and morals mix really well together. Uncle calls Jackie, and we find out Toru, the big grunt, is holding Uncle hostage until Jackie gives him the shield, so Jackie runs home, leaving Jade behind, but she manages to sneak back home and helps Jackie find the shield. He tells her to wait there while he negotiates with the shield, and as you may already realize, Jade never listens to anything being said ever. I think one of the major complaints I hear about this show is that a lot of people find Jade annoying, but I don't know, I'm not really bothered by her. This may be the worst insult ever to give someone, but I swear I mean it neutrally when I say she's kinda like Scrappy Doo. I don't know. He never annoyed me, so what can I say? So Jackie meets Toru on the rooftop and throws the shield to him, but it goes over his head and flies back to Jackie. While this was happening, Jade escaped with Uncle, leaving only Jack and Toru on the rooftop. The Shadow Khan, the ninjas that work for the dragon statue Shendu, arrive, and Jackie just gives them all the business, using the shield as an actual shield against the ninja stars. This rooftop fight looks amazing, so much better than I can give credit to in this retrospective, but it ends with Jackie throwing the shield down to his family, where Toru casually just walks out the elevator and grabs the shield. So Jackie and his family escape with their lives, and Captain Black saves Jackie from the edge of the building in his helicopter. Uncle has been telling Jackie throughout the episode that the shield isn't important, and we find out the reason why the shield isn't important is because it was holding a magical talisman in the middle of it, which Jade secretly took out before it was stolen by Toru. We learn there's 12 magical talismans, this one being the sign of the rooster from the Chinese zodiac, so the episode ends with Jade signing Jackie up to work for Section 13 and to find the 12 magical talismans before the Dark Hand does. It's a pretty cool first episode, there's so much great action sequences, and I love the family dynamic with Uncle, Jackie, and Jade, cause they all kinda trade off being the serious one versus the wacky one, and there's never a dull moment with them. The animation looks so much better than I remember, which I think is a case with a lot of the kids' WB shows. Every episode ends with a question of the day, which I'll be covering, and the question this week is what inspired Jackie to make an animated series. Jackie says growing up he always wanted to be a cartoon character and they can do all kinds of things he can't do, and there's a timeless quality encapsulated in cartoons. It's a sweet answer, and there's definitely a point in justifying shows are animated because they can do stuff that can't be done in live action, but Jackie Chan might be a bad example for this, cause he can probably do all the stunts in this episode. Well, except for opening the car doors at the same time while jumping out the sunroof. That's the most unrealistic part of this episode, but I digress. Let's move on. Episode 2 starts with the Chan family at a Chinese restaurant as they discuss what the rooster talisman could possibly do. Jade tries to show off her martial arts and ends up kicking a bowl that launches the rooster talisman into her bowl of soup. Jade eats the talisman here, which is crazy, that's like eating a golf ball. Jackie told her not to eat like a baboon and to chew, but Jade says why would she choose soup? And this is why, Jade, so you don't accidentally eat golf balls. This is how you get kidney stones. by eating magical talismans. The Dark Hand shows up, and we see they have a device that lets them track the talismans, which points them to Jade, not Jackie. She finds a skateboard and rides down this giant hill, and Jackie pursues in a shopping car. There's an ongoing gag throughout the show where in the majority of episodes, Jackie takes something from a random passerby and says, "Sorry, I'll give it back later." So in this case, Jackie steals a shopping cart to pursue the ninjas and save Jade, getting into a fight with the ninjas on top of a moving truck. Jade skates off the Golden Gate Bridge, but we see she can float because the talisman she ate gave her telekinetic powers, which she still doesn't know she ate yet. So Jackie and Jade are taken away by the Dark Hand group, who learns that Jade has the talisman when they hold this talisman finder up to her. But Jade's able to break out using her telekinetic powers, and Jackie ends up stealing the key to unlock himself. We see Jackie use these fish as nunchucks, which is crazy. Like, this man beats a metal pipe with a fish. Tell me that doesn't go hard. Jade tries to help Jackie fight Toru, which is really funny because it just ends up making him stronger. Like, she launches a swordfish at him and he catches it and nearly impales Jackie with it. So Jackie's like, please stop helping. The fight ends with Jade not listening as usual and picking up Toru using her levitating powers, dropping him through several floors and into the water of the deck below. And I really love this shot, seeing the aerial view of the building with just the water moving. Like, it's just such a nice touch. So the episode ends with Jackie and Jade moving into Section 13 to keep them safe from the Dark Hand organization, but Uncle refuses to move from the antique shop. Overall, another cool episode. The chase scene through San Francisco was great, and seeing Jade actually be able to fight was pretty fun. I like that they make Section 13 one of the main places for the show. Like, it's a fun location and kind of gives me that whimsical sense of, oh, this would have been such a cool place to live in, especially as a kid. Oh my gosh.
Jackie, does this mean I'm a secret agent?
No.
Aww.
Jade always makes these kind of derpy faces before derp faces were even a thing, and I just needed to point that out at least once. So the question of the day for Jackie is, why do you do your own stunts? Jackie says he would watch movies where other actors were applauded for stunts that Jackie was actually performing as their stunt doubles, so Jackie made sure when he was the star, he'd do his own stunts, and he could turn around to the camera to prove it's actually him, which is pretty cool. So let's move on. Episode 3 starts with Jackie searching for the Ox Talisman in a Mexican pyramid. Jackie opens the mouth of this Ox statue, which is empty, and is promptly tackled by the Dark Hand grunts. Jackie pleads he doesn't have the talisman, but is saved when they see a floating skeleton inside the tomb, which is pretty funny since they were already scared of finding mummies because they're in a pyramid, even though they're not in Egypt. It turns out Jade is moving the skeleton around, and the two of them escape by stealing a hang glider, and this continues the trend where Jackie steals something to escape and apologizes, promising to return it later. And it's pretty natural, but it's just a nice touch, you know? Like, if he didn't at least apologize or thank them and say he'll bring it back, you'd think Jackie's kind of a jerk, you know? Jackie and Jade land in town, and Jackie tries to find more info of where this missing talisman could be, while Jade stays behind to watch this mariachi band, when she ends up getting asked to attend a Mexican wrestling event for El Toro Fuerte, which translates to the strong bull, if that's not obvious. Jade says Jackie could beat El Toro, and I love how she argues with Jackie to do this. Like, she says Jackie doesn't have anything better to do tonight. Like, yeah, why not? Just go fight someone. Jackie sees El Toro Fuerte has the Ox Talisman on his mask and agrees to fight and gets handled pretty easily despite his acrobatics. Later, the Dark Hand confronts El Toro, asking him to hand over his mask, which is obviously a sign of honor for Mexican wrestlers. Like, they obviously never watched Mucha Lucha. So El Toro throws Toru onto a car, and he's like bigger than the damn car here. This is crazy. The Shadow Ninjas show up and lasso El Toro's mask off, ripping off the talisman, not only dishonoring him, but getting rid of his super strength. We see the boy that was handing out flyers run off, ashamed to learn that his goat is washed, but Jade convinces El Toro to help get Jackie back, who is taken away by the Dark Hand. We see El Toro fight Toru once again, without the talisman, and they seem to be evenly matched, showing the power was inside El Toro the whole time. Jade kicks the pilot of the plane and steals the Ox Talisman, which wasn't the best idea.
A little help here?
So after the plane has landed, Jade gives El Toro the Ox Talisman back, but he says he'd rather lose with dignity than cheat. And while Toru knocks them both away easily, Jade isn't above cheating, using the talisman to knock out Toru and save the day. And even El Toro's fan Paco comes back, asking him to show him the way of the wrestler. Overall, another really cool episode, and I love that they travel to different locations now. The whole plot of a Mexican wrestler regaining his honor was super cool, and I think this is just a perfect example of what this show has to offer, having great animation, animation showing different locations and cultures with cool action and really funny moments. The question of the day is, how does Jackie stay in shape? He answers saying he trains every day, like boxing, swimming, and badminton, and Jackie Chan playing badminton sounds badass, and while I couldn't find a clip of him playing, I found something so much cooler. In the movie Dragon Lord Jianzu, there's a 10-minute sequence where they had to do about 2,900 reshoots of different parts where they reenact an ancient game called Jianzu. In this game, they kick a shuttlecock that never hits the ground, and just take a look at this is pretty crazy. So let's move on to episode 4. Episode 4 starts with Jackie in a New York museum, pleading for the talisman which is on display here. The museum curator tells Jackie they have increased security because of their pink puma diamond, so he's not worried about anything getting stolen, and I just realized this is a parody of the Pink Panther. Haha. As Jackie walks away, he bumps into the green guy from the Dark Hand organization, and I love this line so much.
I'm so sorry. I broke your spy camera. Spy camera?
So Jackie chases him throughout the city and learns the villains are planning a heist that night to steal the talisman, so Jackie takes matters into his own hand to steal it before they can. Jade wants to come with Jackie, but Jackie says he'll make it up to her by taking her to the Thanksgiving parade the next day, and we already know by now she's not gonna listen, but there's always a loophole.
Said I wouldn't come with. Didn't say I wouldn't follow.
So I gotta respect the hustle. Jackie and this lady we saw at the museum earlier both entered the museum that night, unbeknownst to the other, paralleling each other's movements so perfectly they don't even know the other is there. That is, until they're escaping with the respective treasures, the snake talisman and the pink puma. They get into a fight, which Jade finds really cool to see this badass woman, but when they learn they're not here to fight each other, they escape when Jackie accidentally sounds off the museum alarm and gets arrested. In the chaos of their fight, they swapped bags, so this woman Viper has the snake talisman, while Jackie actually has the pink puma, which is obviously pretty useless to him. Viper uses a talisman which we learn has the powers of invisibility, and I love how subtle the show is introducing this power to us. Like, Viper just opens the door to Jackie's jail cell, but she's just invisible obviously, so you just don't see her. After they escape, Jade trades the pink puma to Viper in exchange for the snake talisman, but Jackie doesn't want to negotiate with criminals. Jackie eventually gives in, making the trade, and Jade asks Viper to go to the parade with them, saying she'd make a cool aunt. Viper says maybe another time, and then we see the talisman was a fake, crumbling in Jackie's hand. This makes Jade really sad that her ideal future aunt betrayed her, but Jackie teaches Jade there's no honor among thieves. We see Viper fighting the Shadow Ninjas up on a rooftop, and I love that Jackie runs off with the parade float to save her, saying he'll give it back later. Like, Jackie, this is the only day the float matters. So Jackie and Viper team up, along with Jade, which I love to see because they have great chemistry and Jade looks up to both of them. It's kind of like Spy X Family, but more like Good Spy X Bad Spy X Scrappy Doo. Sorry, that was too far. We see them all fighting on top of a parade float, and the fight ends with Jackie, Viper, and Jade beating up some grunts, and the balloon pops, getting snagged on the Statue of Liberty, which is pretty cool to see. My favorite moment of the episode has to be when they drop the talisman and it falls between the toes of the Statue of Liberty, turning her invisible, which I love because every time the talisman fell onto the float, I thought, oh, what if they made the float invisible? That would be kind of funny. And I kind of wonder why it works on the Statue of Liberty though. Does the human body part activate the talisman where the float doesn't? Or is the Statue of Liberty secretly a human? Jackie's question of the day. The question here is if Jackie ever gets scared, which is actually a pretty good question. Jackie says he's definitely scared and every scene has his heart pumping. I love how he says here he's crazy but not stupid, and that he isn't Superman, which some people have actually debated. Like, did you know he fell from an 80-foot tower before, injuring his spine, and he can still walk, let alone live? Isn't that so crazy? Like, he's so badass that's not even the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Jackie Chan. He's just this kinda humble, jolly fellow. Jade was really funny and useful here, so I think she's a little bit overhated, because I hear a lot of people say she's useless, which I definitely have to disagree with. It's interesting to see Jackie and Viper as a potential romance, but we'll have to see if she shows up again in the future, so let's move on. Episode 5 starts with a tortoise that has a rabbit talisman lodged in its shell, which coincidentally gives Jackie an opportune time to teach Jade slow and steady wins the race. You know, like the tortoise and the hare. Also, the tortoise's name is Aesop, like Aesop's Fables, where the tortoise and the hare comes from, which is pretty funny, I guess. Jackie gets into a fight at the aquarium the tortoise is at, as the Dark Hand tries to take the tortoise not only for the talisman on its back, but also to sell it to this creepy rich man who eats exotic animals. We learn Valmont is selling the tortoise here because they're running out of money to fund this expedition and get all the talismans, so they gotta kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, or turtles with talismans. This is where Jade and Jackie have one of their first big disagreements. Jackie wants to prioritize getting the talisman back, but Jade wants to ensure they save the tortoise first. It can cleverly be tied back to the tortoise and the hare when Jackie frames the scenario as being patient, getting the talisman first to save the tortoise after, which Jackie justifies by saying who knows what'll happen if the Dark Hand gets their dark hands on the rabbit talisman. We get this pretty cool fight in the shipyard, but Toru grabs the rabbit talisman and gets super speed, making him basically invincible, but Jackie is slow and steady, making Toru slip on an oil spill, and takes the rabbit talisman back. Jackie uses this new super speed to run on water to the boat in the middle of the water where Jade's trying to save the tortoise to no avail. The eccentric millionaire finds Jade and says he's gonna eat her in a stew, but says he's joking because children are far too common for his sophisticated palate, which is a crazy line, like this dude needs to be locked up, but it's pretty great for a sleazy villain, you know, you just love to hate him, I guess. So Jackie breaks into the kitchen, locking the chef away with his super speed just before he cuts off the tortoise's head, and no matter how much force Jade or Jackie use, they can't move Aesop. The Shadow Ninjas break in, and Jade learns she can motivate the turtle by putting carrots in front of him, which brings up a similar debate to the tortoise versus the hare, the carrot versus the stick, in which favorable behavior is encouraged by giving something a carrot, whereas unfavorable behavior is discouraged by hitting someone with a stick. They put the rabbit talisman back into Aesop's shell and ride him across the water back to land, saving the tortoise and the day. Overall, the episode's decent. It doesn't have the grand locations of previous episodes, but still is fun with a competent dilemma, and seeing Jackie and Jade both have valid arguments for how to proceed with the plan was really cool. The question of the day is if Jackie likes TV, and he says he loves TV and learned a lot of English in part for how much he watched television. He says he likes educational stuff and even watches TV while training sometimes, which is pretty fun. So let's move on. In episode 6, Jackie's on a train, presumably in Turkey, from the Istanbul on the box, and finds the sheep talisman. Jackie fights the Shadow Khan, but gets a call from Jade about how she doesn't want to be left with Uncle because he's no fun, causing Jackie to get distracted and have the talisman taken from him. They blow up the bridge Jackie's on, which makes sense, like, you know he's a constant threat to them, but if you're gonna try to destroy him by blowing up the bridge he's on, don't fly the helicopter close enough that he can jump on, climb up, and take the talisman back from you. Like, you have the whole sky to work with, just fly away. The sheep talisman's power is unknown, but Jade soon learns it has the power to astral project. You know, the ox talisman makes sense, it gives you strength, you're strong like an ox. A snake letting you turn invisible kinda makes sense too, but I don't know why the sheep specifically astral projects. All you sheeple and your astral projecting. So the Dark Hand sneaks into the antique shop and takes the talisman from Jade while she's sleeping, and the villains bring it back to the talking demon dragon thing, who reveals he's been locked away for 900 years because his army betrayed him, but if he collects all 12 talismans, he'll return back to his original dragon form. So obviously, the sheep talisman is by far the best one to give a statue because at least he can move around now. Like, super strength won't help a statue at all, I don't think, but the astral projecting does even more here because Jade is kinda stuck in limbo here since she lost the talisman while astral projecting, so the dragon Shendu is able to take over her dormant body as some kind of sleeping vessel. The evil Jade is actually just really nice and pure, bringing Jackie and Uncle orange slices and oolong tea, and asks to be taken back to Section 13, which they would just think is her asking to go back home, but it would actually be to reveal the secret base's location to the Dark Hand. But Jackie uses this opportunity to fulfill Jade's request from the beginning of the episode, having the Section 13 staff take her to Disneyland instead. Well, it's actually Melvin World, but yeah, evil Jade isn't too happy.
Smile for the camera.
Soon I shall devour your soul.
Oh my god. Eventually, Jackie's able to put Jade on the phone with Uncle, who recites a chi spell that reverses the evil curse, exorcising Shendu from Jane. Jade apologizes for losing the talisman, but Jackie says he guesses it's because of her the others are still safe in Section 13. I don't really get why this is the case, but it's a sweet sentiment, and overall it's a really sweet episode that focuses on the backdrop of Jade's relation with Jackie. Like, she called him mid-fight at the beginning of the episode and asked to be taken to Melvin World, and we see Uncle and Jackie don't recognize Jade's been possessed when she's being nice and bringing them fruit and tea. I almost wish there was a little more tension here though, like Jade questioning her place in this family she's hardly known, like if she had insecurities, like they like the new Jade more, for example. But I think it's a nice episode and adds another fun location to the series. Like, we've had Mexico, New York during the Thanksgiving parade, a Disneyland knockoff, just really vibrant, lively locations for the show. Jackie's question of the day is, who does he admire? And I gotta say, Spielberg and George Lucas weren't my first guesses. He likes special effects and stuff, which is a really interesting answer from a professional stuntman. You'd think he wouldn't want visual effects to potentially take a big part out of his craft and livelihood, but to be fair, he also says with these visual effects, he wouldn't have to get hurt jumping off of stuff as much, which actually did happen to him a lot in the real world. So maybe there'd just be a better balance in his mind of visual effects versus practical effects. So let's move on. Episode 7 starts with Jade beating up the school bully for taking someone's lunch money, and the teacher gets mad at Jade and sets up a parent-teacher meeting with Jackie. It's kinda weird no one ever mentions that Jade was defending the boy that was getting bullied and is the only one getting punished here, but I guess they want to focus more on the core theme of the episode, controlling one's temper. Jackie tells the teacher that Jade does martial arts, but they're to teach her discipline, not so she can fight others. While Jade was fighting the bully, Jackie is in a volcano searching for the dragon talisman, which the Dark Hand henchman actually managed to win. The dragon talisman gives the holder the ability to shoot dragon fire, and Valmont uses this to go on a crime spree and make some more money that they desperately need. When Section 13 gets involved, this ends up with Valmont putting Captain Black in the hospital. Jackie's really angry, and when the hospital is sent flowers from Valmont, Jackie gets so mad he breaks the flower pot. This is one of the most tense episodes in the whole series, because while all the characters have been pretty agreeable and chill so far, everyone is so angry here. Like, Jackie goes to intercept the Dark Hand as they plan to break into the Federal Gold Reserve in Fort Knox, and we see Jackie blow his cover because he gets so mad he punches a railing when Valmont makes fun of Captain Black. Or in the same scene, we see Jade escaping, but runs back to dive kick this dude in the chest because he called her a little shrimp. She even tries to run Valmont over in a forklift, and I know her ass is not forklift certified. Uncle gives Jackie the same advice here that he gave Jade earlier in the episode regarding her bully, that he'll win by not fighting. We see Jackie throw Valmont's gold into the water as they're on this giant floating dock, which angers Valmont into shooting his fire at Jackie, causing the dock and all the gold to sink. Jackie goes to the hospital to see Captain Black again, and we learn Captain Black still doesn't believe the talismans are magic and is focused more on stopping the crimes the Dark Hand commits, like their heists, and this skepticism will play an important role as we progress through the season. The episode ends with Jade and the bully she beat up earlier in the episode meditating on the playground, and we even see the bully break up two kids fighting, showing us once and for all, the best victories are the battles not fought. Overall, it's a pretty interesting episode, primarily because of the huge shift in tone from the earlier episodes. Like, you know that picture where the whole house is mad and even the dogs are wrestling in the picture? This is like the Jackie Chan Adventures equivalent. Jackie was heated the whole time and Jade tries to run someone over, but they ultimately showed the importance of discipline and how this can be achieved with martial arts, which is really cool and nice to see. Jackie's question of the day is, what did he want to be when he grew up? He says he wanted to be a rich man, a hero, a fireman, president, so now he likes to be a movie star because he can actually do all those things he knew he couldn't do as a kid, which is a really cool answer. So let's move on. Episode 8 starts with an auction for a lamp that has a rat talisman on it, and we see Jackie get into a bidding war with the villains, which is pretty funny. Like, do you think either side would just say, oh, they outbid me, oh well, time to go home? All they're doing is wasting both their money. So continuing the trend of the villains being broke, they get outbid, and Toru just walks up and takes the lamp, and Jackie kicks through the lamp and runs off with the talisman, telling the auctioneer he's sorry and he'll just write him a check later, which is pretty funny because you know he can't just bring the lamp back later. Jackie fights the villains in this building that's soon to be demolished, and we see Toru actually presses the detonator, and I love that he wears a hard hat here, like, safety first, man. Jackie runs down the crumbling building and grabs onto a lamppost to survive the demolition, and when he gets home, he talks to Jade about picking up after herself, proceeding to trip over one of her toys and injuring his leg. Uncle points out what everyone was thinking, that Jackie runs out of an exploding building unscathed, but injures himself on a children's toy. I'm still thinking about how he swung onto the lamp, like my shoulders hurt just thinking about that. The power of the rat talisman is to bring motion to the motionless, and all I gotta say is, where was this talisman when Jackie ran into Viper, am I right? So the rat talisman falls into Gnome Cop, the toy that Jackie slipped on earlier, giving sentience to the most powerful character in the whole show. The only character to injure Jackie Chan. A RoboCop knockoff toy. So Jade and Jackie chase this Gnome Cop throughout the city, eventually getting into a mall, and he's just hellbent on destroying his mortal enemy, Turbo Troll. Jackie wheels around the mall trying to catch Gnome Cop, but Toru eventually catches him and brings him back to the Dark Hand base.
Because gnomes possess magic from the Great Crystal, so Gnome Cop uses his power belt to... collect them.
The Dark Hand uses Gnome Cop to retrace his steps back to Section 13's base so they can find out where the secret base is and steal all the talismans back. Jackie and Jade eventually run into the villains in Gnome Cop in this dock, and we get a pretty great fight sequence. They push Jackie, who's tied up in a wheelchair, into the water, and he eventually wiggles out and is jet skiing on one foot behind this powerboat. On top of that, he's dodging the villains who are trying to whack him with paddles, and he almost gets ground up by the blade of the boat. I don't know what possesses the Gnome Cop toy to try to steer the boat into a cruise liner, but Jackie runs on the side of it with one leg being pulled by the boat, and like there's so many moments like this that go so hard. I just have to take a quick moment to mention these. Jackie steals a guy's crutches to fight, which would be so crazy if Jackie wasn't also crippled right now, and Toru falls onto the Gnome Cop, and the talisman pops out of him like an android battery, landing in an even bigger Gnome Cop that's built for the convention. Apparently, while the commercial break was happening, Jackie distracted the giant Gnome Cop while Jade crawled into his mouth and retrieved the talisman, and I guess the episode just ran out of time or didn't really feel the need to show all this on screen because we only hear about this story from Jade back home, where we also learn she fell on Jackie, who now has broken his other leg too. This leads really well into the question of the day: has Jackie ever been hurt doing his own stunts? And I love his answer because he just lists like every body part here.
Yes, so many times. My eyes, my face, shoulder, nose 3 times, elbow. Cannot remember. My jaws, knees, cut, angle.
He at least says to not try any of this at home, but it's probably pretty obvious he doesn't mention any of the more crazy stunts like falling off the 80-foot tower. Overall, the episode's pretty fun, definitely a bit wacky, and doesn't really have a moral like most other episodes, but it's a fun time and a decent episode, so let's move on. Episode 9 starts off in what looks like a freezing part of China, where Jackie takes a horse talisman, skiing away from the villains who pursue him. The fight sequence here is really cool, like he's skiing while they swing ski poles at him, and they see a sign that says to be quiet because this is an avalanche zone, but the red-haired guy didn't see the sign, causing an avalanche to happen. Jackie steals Toru's giant shirt and uses it as a parachute, which is kinda crazy, like you rob this man off the clothes off his back, point blank, during an avalanche, and basically just said, this man has such a big back, I bet his shirt works as a parachute. Just diabolical. Back at Section 13, Jade keeps trying to hack into the vault, typing in Captain Black's birthday, or the word talisman backwards, and Jackie tells her this is rude, but Jade's just distracted knowing that the last number in the password is 7 now. From Uncle's research, they learn the horse talisman will expel all alien forces from within, which they all interpret as the horse talisman will summon aliens or something. Jackie goes to Mount Rushmore to get a talisman, but it actually turns out to be a trap from Shendu that poisons Jackie. The Dark Hand says they'll only give Jackie the antidote if they exchange all their talismans, and we see Jackie's fingers slowly turn to stone. Jackie says he won't trade the talismans for the antidote because of the huge power all 12 talismans can bring the villains, so Uncle tries to heal Jackie using ancient Chinese medicine. This doesn't work, but gives Jackie green skin like a lizard, and we even see him shed his skin. So Jade takes it upon herself to break into Section 13 and steal the talismans to save Jackie. She takes Captain Black's keycard, and when she gets back to the number safe she tried inputting his birthday on, she thinks back to her clues, that the password is 3 digits and the last number is a 7. so she guesses the code is 007 right away, which is really funny. Like, this dude thinks he's James Bond. Also, how is he gonna brag about the security system he has with a 3-digit security code? That's 1,000 combos. Give me an hour or two and I'm breaking in. So Jade meets up with the villains, prepared to make her trade, but the horse talisman's missing because Uncle's doing research on it, but the villains probably would have just taken the talismans anyways and not exchanged the antidote for them. Jackie comes running in, and we see Jackie fight the bad guys, while Toru and the Chameleon Shades guy are just playing keep away from Jade with the bag of talismans. Which is really funny, like they could use your help. Jackie's beating their asses and is also made of solid rock now. Uncle shows up with a horse talisman to trade for the antidote, but when this gets taken from Uncle, he throws the lizard acid on the villains, then uses this little flamethrower thing on them. Like, Uncle could solve every problem in this show by just making a real weapon or something. Look at this. Jackie eventually turns completely into stone, and Jade and Uncle mourn his death, debating putting his memorial statue in the garden. Toru shows back up and says his cold is totally gone, which they deduce is from the horse talisman expelling alien substances from the user's body, like a cold or turning into stone. It's also probably a play on the saying healthy as a horse, which is a cool touch, cause some of the talismans seem related to their powers and others don't. So thanks to the horse talisman, Jackie's healed back to normal and knocks Toru down this spiral staircase for the second time in this episode. And this is one of the only parts of the show I remember from the very little I watched as a kid, because my dad walked in the room right when this happened the first time I saw this as a kid, and thought it was absolutely hilarious, and I didn't know it was a potential reference to the Looney Tunes short, Porky Pig's Feet. So all's well that ends well, Jackie's back to full health, and Jade returns the talismans, and Jackie tells her to just say she was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Question of the day, what is Jackie's favorite color?
My favorite color, white, blue, light blue, green.
I feel like the question of the day is just turning more into Jackie, just list every word that comes to mind. I would have guessed red or blue, but Jackie says his favorite color is white, but blue is cool too. They're the colors of the sky and the calming, gentle colors, which is sweet. He doesn't like red or pink or purple, and doesn't like wearing them in movies either, which is interesting that he likes calm colors over intense ones. So let's move on. Episode 10 starts with Jackie retrieving the dog talisman out of a windmill where he's confronted by Toru. Jackie tells Toru he should join the good side because they have a good dental plan in Donut Thursdays, which may or may not be foreshadowing. Jackie escapes out of the windmill, leaving Toru behind, who falls out and breaks the talisman finder. Back at home, it's Uncle's birthday, and he seems to be sad because he's getting older. Because of Toru's repeated failures, a new villain is hired to freelance named Hawk Fu, and he's pretty tough, even scaring Toru. Uncle learns the dog talisman gives the user eternal life and makes it into a necklace to wear. Jackie brings chocolates home from his trip to Bavaria to get the dog talisman, and Jade realizes the design of these chocolates is identical to a talisman. So the three of them fly back to research where the pig talisman may be that the chocolate was modeled after. Jackie gets into a fight with Hawk Fu in the Bavarian chocolate factory, and Hawk Fu beats Jackie up pretty easily. Uncle steps in and effortlessly dodges and attacks thanks to his new powers of immortality, which is pretty cool, because they mentioned earlier that Uncle was a great fighter like Jackie when he was younger, and it's always fun to see Uncle use his kung fu form, which we rarely get to see in the show. Eventually, Uncle gets knocked into a pile of bricks, which would probably kill him without the dog talisman, and I like this scene a lot because he's confronted by his old man self who tells him to go get up and get the pig talisman. I really like this part because it kind of insinuates regardless of Uncle's age, he'll always be a grumpy old man at heart, for better or worse. They go to the clock tower to get the pig talisman, confronted by Toru and Hawk Fu. Hawk Fu tells Toru to track down Jade and refers to him as family size, which is crazy. I've never heard someone be called family size before. Combining their efforts, Jackie and Uncle beat Hawk Fu, but he manages to jump up and grab the pig talisman, which gives him laser vision, or heat beam eye blast as he says.
Heat beam eye blast. Heat beam eye blast. Heat beam eye blast.
The clock tower rings, knocking Huck Fu onto an arm of the clock, and when Toru also falls onto an arm of the clock, their combined weight as well as the laser shooting through the tower causes it to collapse. So we get Jackie and Uncle running down the crumbling clock tower, and Jackie's obviously suspicious how Uncle has done all this, but Uncle returns the dog talisman, thanking Jackie for allowing him to relive his youth, and says being young is too exhausting and dangerous. The question of the day here is, can Jackie cook? He says he can cook eggs and toast, and I swear he says here that he knows how to cook fruit, water, and juice? Which of these three things do you cook? I think what happened here is they cut between two sentences, one where he was talking about what he cooks, and one where he was saying what he eats. But it's just so funny to me, like, why did they do this?
How to cook the egg and also a lot of fruits and water and juice.
So yeah, Jackie says he's a terrible cook, but loves to eat, which is pretty real. Episode 11 starts with Jade's school having a career day, and Jade's embarrassed about Jackie bringing up his kinda boring archaeology experience, as opposed to his secret agent work. Jackie tells Jade that his work with Section 13 is secret and not his career, and Jackie says many times throughout the season that archaeology is in fact his career, oftentimes to not get too caught up in the secret agent work. Jackie takes Jade on an underwater archaeology search, and she happens to find the monkey talisman, but the Dark Hand is right behind them. Jade tries to use the monkey talisman to save Jackie, and she says she's about to yak, which turns Jackie into a yak. I assume Jackie still has the same consciousness here, so I guess Jackie's just a little freaky when he licks Toru, but Jade turns him back into a human just before Toru grabs the yak Jackie. None of this matters because they all get hit by a giant wave and the ship capsizes, so Jade wakes up shipwrecked on an island and gets chased by the Dark Hand again. And I know I've been describing most of the Dark Hand villains off of their appearance so far, except the big guy who we know is Toru, because they actually say his name a lot. But from this episode, I learned the funny green guy is named Ratso, which is interesting because I don't remember them saying his name at all so far.
How about I get these rats off my tail?
Ratso? Whoa.
And when the red-haired guy picks him up, I kinda thought he was just saying Ratso because his friend became a rat, but nope, his actual name is Ratso. As Jade's being chased, she tries to turn the henchman into a hippo and a giraffe, which is really funny. Like, yes, a hippo, one of the deadliest animals in the world, and a giraffe, which can run almost 40 miles per hour. You know, humans aren't that scary, I guess. Fortunately, Jade misses, besides turning a random monkey into a giraffe, and decides to turn herself into a monkey to escape instead. Jade eventually finds Jackie and tries to convince him that she's Jade, not just a regular monkey, but is taken away by her monkey mom. So Jade loses the talisman here, and Jackie gets caught by the Dark Hand, and they debate what animal to turn Jackie into with their new talisman, saying they should turn him into a chicken and eat him, which is crazy, by the way. So everyone starts turning each other into animals, and Jackie gets turned into a kangaroo and starts punching and kicking everyone. Jade uses the monkey call she learned from her time being cared for by her monkey family, and all of the monkeys on the island group up and beat up all the villains, even the one monkey that got turned into a giraffe, which I love to see. So the episode ends with Jade going back to career day, accepting the fact that her cool life can't really be shared with the others even if she tries, cause no one will believe her, and she redirects back to the boring patience needed to be an archaeologist speech. I kinda would've liked the ending a little more if Jade didn't start by trying to tell her class the spy story, which she was told not to do by Jackie, but instead learned the benefits of patience and other cool archaeologist qualities, and used those to help save the day instead and stuff. Overall, it's a pretty fun episode. I don't think it's really captured any of the martial arts morals like other episodes did, and I don't think any of the virtues of patience that archaeologists might display were really present here. But regardless, I actually really like this episode because I just thought all the chaos with all the animals was so funny and entertaining. The question of the day is pretty fitting for this animal episode, where they ask Jackie if he has any pets. Jackie tells us about how he loves pets, especially big dogs, but because of his travel needed when filming movies, he went away for 6 months, and when he came back, his dog bit him, so he said after he retires he'll focus more on having pets, but he loves animals. So let's move on. Episode 12 starts with Jackie, Jade, Toru, and this old man competing in a pie eating contest because they know the tiger talisman is in one of these pies for some reason. I could question why the hell they know this, but it's a funny little pie eating contest, so I can't complain. Shendu, the dragon statue, tells the villains the Chinese New Year's approaching and he needs all 12 talismans by then, but they only have 2 and Jackie has the other 10. The tiger talisman gives the user the power of balance, more so in the form of splitting them into yin and yang, as we see the talisman split in half, giving us a pure good Jackie who cries because he steps on a bug, and an evil Jackie who eats all of Jane's New Year's candy. The Dark Hand shows up to retrieve all the talismans, and it's really funny to see the different Jackies' reactions. Like, good Jackie's scared, but evil Jackie wants all the smoke. The funniest part of the episode is probably when Toru walks in, and evil Jackie kicks him down right away, and even the other villains are like, hey man, that's messed up, at least let him finish first. Evil Jackie kicks all the villains away, and the villain Chow, the one with the big reptile-looking orange sunglasses, even gets his jacket and shades taken by evil Jackie. I gotta admit, he isn't a very interesting villain, like he doesn't provide anything unique in terms of combat or personality, but I love his design, and obviously Jackie does too if he's just gonna steal all his drip. So the villains split up with half of them catching good Jackie as he tried to hide in a Chinese dragon in the festival, while the other half catches evil Jackie. And neither side knows there's 2 Jackies until they call each other. It's so funny to see Valmont ask which Jackie they have, only to look over and see evil Jackie having the time of his life with the villains.
So which Chan do we have?
And when the fish hit the road, you guys all went, whoa!
So Valmont offers evil Jackie riches if he gets all the talismans from Section 13, and he agrees. Jade manages to save good Jackie by shooting off fireworks, and the villains actually think Section 13 is shooting at them, giving us the answer once and for all to the question, gunshots or fireworks. We get another funny role reversal here where Jade tells good Jackie to wait outside because she needs to get Section 13's help, and Captain Black won't believe there's 2 Jackies since he still doesn't believe in magic. But the evil Jackie waltzes in and steals the talismans, so Captain Black obviously doesn't believe her, and Jade finally gets a taste of her own medicine, which is pretty funny. Jade tries to convince evil Jackie that he has a good side and everyone's a balance of good and evil, but evil Jackie says once he sells the talismans, he'll have a rich guy side. Honestly, get evil Jackie in the booth, that went pretty hard. Jade breaks evil Jackie's shades, and we get a showdown between good and bad Jackie. We see good Jackie apologizing as he throws punches, and I like how we see the good Jackie fight more with self-defense. It's pretty fitting for his character. Like, I kinda wish the villains had more distinct fighting styles like this. Toru walks up and steals the case of talismans along with Jade, and I wonder if he just didn't care enough to remove her hanging from the case, but the 2 Jackies see Jade get kidnapped and find common ground in wanting to save Jade. Good Jackie says she's family, while evil Jackie says she was scrappy and likes the idea that if he saves her, he'll be given the chance to fight more bad guys. So the 2 Jackies break in and beat up all the villains, including the Shadow Khan, but Valmont's able to retrieve all of the talismans now, inserting the other half of the Tiger Talisman into Shendu, which not only brings the Jackies back together into one now, but also brings Shendu back to his original form as this giant dragon. Ending this episode on an ominous cliffhanger to be continued. So we get into the finale of Season 1, with Section 13 having no talismans, and Shendu possessing the power of all 12, along with his original evil giant dragon form. They really set up great stakes here going into the finale, and this episode had a lot of really funny moments. So before we can see how this wraps up, we gotta go to the question of the day. The question here is, what is Jackie's favorite junk food? I kinda thought he'd say none, but he says he loves ice cream, especially chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, and even today he had some chocolate ice cream before going back to punching and kicking more. So we move into the finale of Season 1, where Velma asks Shendu for the promised treasure now that they've given him all 12 talismans. Shendu says technically Jackie gave them the final talisman, not Velma, so no treasure for you. And honestly, I can see why Shendu got betrayed in the first place 900 years ago. That's so messed up. And like, I don't even particularly care for the villains, but it's still just a dick move. Valmont sends Toru to try to beat up Shendu and get the treasure back, and obviously he doesn't stand a chance even if Shendu didn't have the talismans for levitation and super strength. He's like twice his size at least. So all the villains leave the building, and there's a running gag throughout the season where during more particularly tense moments, a character is in an elevator, like Toru's riding the elevator while Jackie fights the Shadow Ninjas.
too bad about the lost treasure of, you know, what you call it.
Will this affect our bonuses?
You get a bonus?
Shut up.
Jackie confronts Shendu, who easily knocks him away, and Jade explains to Captain Black that this demon dragon thing is real, so we finally begin to mix these two worlds together of law enforcement and the mystical demon world, which has a lot of potential for some really interesting conflicts. Back at the antique shop, Toru shows up and doesn't come to fight, but rather to help the Section 13 gang, informing them the demon is named Shendu so Uncle can do more research on it. From Uncle's research, we learn that Shendu lost his talisman when his army imprisoned him, and he plans to return to resurrect his palace and get his revenge by destroying all of Asia. The palace is also located in Hong Kong, so Jade has extra motivation to help since that's where her parents live. As always, Jade escapes from Section 13 security, who is ordered to keep her contained there, and she, along with the Dark Hand, all escape. So we arrive in Hong Kong and see the palace reforms, and Uncle gives Jackie a chemical bomb that can penetrate Shendu's demon shell, allowing Jackie to defeat the demon dragon. I like the way they set this up because it gives a lot of depth to the talismans. Like Uncle says, you don't need to take all the talismans at once, but like just the rat talisman that gives life to objects. It kind of gives a little more attention to detail to these talismans, and they do a great job building them all up here. Cause like we've seen them all do their powers in their individual episodes, and now they're all combined into one final showdown. We see Jackie take the sheep talisman, which gives him the ability to astral project, which knocks Jackie out, and Captain Black and his team try to step in with their rocket launchers, but Uncle is adamant that magic needs to defeat magic, and we even see him knock out Captain Black. It's pretty funny, but also a cool touch to give Uncle a useful role here, like he's ready to fight all of Section 13 if he has to. Jackie manages to step inside his own body at the last moment and steals the Dragus talisman now, but Shendu is still invincible for the most part because he has the horse talisman, which can just infinitely heal him. Jackie grabs the monkey talisman, turning Shendu into a rabbit, which is a great idea, but Shendu can still just turn invisible and grab it back. But I love the little bunny Shendu, he's so grumpy. Jackie finally gets a useful talisman, the Ox, which gives him super strength, but even this doesn't make him more powerful than Shendu. Shendu grabs Jackie and is about to feed him to his dragons from the other dimension, but Jade steps in, using the same potion that Uncle gave Jackie, allowing Jade and Jackie to steal Shendu's talismans, finally getting the rat talisman and the dog talisman, so Shendu can't move and isn't immortal any longer. They end up destroying Shendu, and we see the palace, along with all the treasure inside the Dark Hand was collecting, fade away. So we assume all is well that ends well now that Shendu's destroyed, but Uncle's upset and says that they weren't supposed to destroy Shendu, because doing this causes a void to open, allowing an even stronger evil to take over. On top of this, the Dark Hand collects all the talismans that remained when the palace collapsed, so it's kinda nice to see that they'll stick around and potentially be stronger, cause I love when bad guys can hold their own or even have the advantage. Jackie tells Jade she should visit her parents now that she's in Hong Kong, and we watch her leave. Back home at the antique shop, Jackie and Uncle talk about how they miss Jade, and Toru is here working for Uncle now, dusting off antiques, which is so funny. Like he's just become this gentle giant who also misses Jade. But Jade's parents send a letter saying they're pleased with how much Jade's grown, and they're so pleased they even send Jade back for a whole another year. So that's how the first season ends, with Jade returning and Toru presumably on the side of good, which I really hope sticks because he's arguably the funniest character in the whole show. Overall, a much better season than I expected going into this. The animation and fight choreography are beautiful, and I love the art style with this kind of UPA coloring style, with the shapes extending beyond their outlines, and it goes really well with all the different locations we see throughout the season, like Mexico, Turkey, an amusement park, Bavaria, not to mention all the funny moments this season had. Shows that involve martial arts and combat work really well because they combine action, humor, and important messages all into one, and Jackie Chan Adventures is potentially one of the biggest influences on these from the beginning of the 2000s. Before I go, the question of the day for Jackie is, will he always act for the rest of his life? Jackie says he might not always be able to act in front of the screen for the rest of his life, but would love to produce and direct, and will always find a way to be part of the film industry. As of April of 2024, Jackie just celebrated his 70th birthday and declared he has no plans to retire. He even has several movies he's acting in, all set to come out soon, most notably a 2025 Karate Kid movie Jackie's acting in as Mr. Han, the counterpart to Mr. Miyagi from the 2010 Karate Kid movie. I just want to give a quick thanks to everyone who subscribed to my Patreon and donated to my Ko-fi, it really helps a lot as I try to do this more regularly. So thank you, Paul H, PK Kirby, and Lucas17. Y'all are all goated with the sauce. Alright everyone, please like and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.